All right. Can you guys hear me? Can we hear me? I'll just talk loud. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. It is 6:01, so we'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank you for attending this feedback session on water fluoridation in the city of Pasco. I want to let you know this meeting is being recorded. That's the team's meeting that you see there. And we also have translators available. If you would prefer to speak in Spanish or Russian, please see our translators at the back of the room. They'll help you out. I got to lay down some ground rules. This is not a forum for discussion, questions, or debate. Each person here and each person online who wishes to speak will have the opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes. Have your feedback collected and submitted to City Council in a formal report, as well as being heard by the council members who are here this evening. That'll happen before the council makes a final decision on whether to continue adding fluoride to city drinking water. This feedback session is focused on people who live, work, or attend school in Pasco. So before you begin to speak, we're asking that you share your name and the relevant information. So for example, if I got up to speak, I would say, my name is Alyssa Warner, and I work in the city of Pasco. I know this is not going to be a problem. Please be respectful of everyone here. Refrain from commentary or applause as the others are speaking. Again, each person here will have the opportunity to speak once and for up to 3 minutes. Not a debate. We're not going to be allowing rebuttals here. We will not allow you to grant your time to someone else. Those 3 minutes are yours. And finally, if you would prefer to write down your comments, or if you have more to say after your 3 minutes are finished, you can also use the QR code on the screen here. That'll take you to our online comment form. You can complete it, you can stay anonymous, and you can do that at your convenience through September 28th. Again, thank you for being here. We will begin by hearing from someone in the room, then we'll alternate hearing from people here and people online. If you are online, please raise your hand virtually if you would like to speak. I'll call on people by name, and then my colleague Laurel will unmute you and allow you to have camera access so that you can share your thoughts with us. Yes. That is all going to be part of the report that is put together, so it hasn't been submitted yet. No.
And I just want to comment that just so you know, we do have 5 members up here. One's in the back of the audience. So there actually is 6 out of 7 of us here. So we do take this it's very important to us. And so again, I appreciate everybody being here, and I do apologize for the last one where the whole council was at a different event, but we're here now, and we definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. And so I do appreciate you taking time out of your day to attend and let us know what you think. So let you go on.
Thank you. Any further questions? Great. Well, whoever would like to be the brave one and start things off here, we'll have you come to the front.
Are we on? Yes. Well, good evening. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Lilo Black. I'm a resident of Pasco, a general dentist of 31 years, president of our local dental society, and a mother of 2 adult children. Last Monday, the City Council chose to honor Charlie Kirk. I applaud this decision, for I also agree that democracy thrives on dialogue, not silence. In your proclamation, you recounted how Charlie wanted people to think critically and engage civically to strengthen our communities. These are guidelines that I think we can all support. So I find it so perplexing that when it comes to the matter at hand, water fluoridation in Pasco, that you have completely diverged from the very tenets you espouse. Fluoridation was not an issue of anyone's campaign. There have not been any public forums. In fact, the origin of this issue seems to be a mystery. Furthermore, your handling of it has not been transparent. You hosted a listening session in August that no council member attended. You never reached out to the public health department, or to the dental community. This is not what the public elected you to do. Rather, they expect you to seek out pertinent, preferably local, information before you make decisions that have consequences on the health of our residents. You have at your disposal access to the Benton Franklin County Health District. And had you reached out to them, you would have discovered that 63% of the children in Pasco are on Medicaid, that our decay rate is still higher than we would like, and that children with disabilities who require treatment in a hospital setting are on a waiting list over 100 patients long. You would have learned about the specific risks of sedation or general anesthetic usage for very young children. You would have understood the true cost of dental treatment for children, from cost of the procedures themselves, to time off of work for the parents, and time missed from school. Some of you might have discovered that you yourself were the beneficiary of community fluoridation. I think that had you spoken with the people in the district office, you would have found them to be engaging, thoughtful, and in pursuit of the common goal to support the health of the citizens of Pasco. Instead, you told us, I don't care about the science. I have to ask, is this in keeping with good representation of your constituents?
Dr. Black, that is 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Can we hear from Garrett Stoker online, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Awesome. All right. Good evening, council members. My name is Garrett Stoker. I'm also a dentist, and I care a lot about the residents of Pasco. I care for many of them, and I'm here to talk about the difference between fluoridation and medication, and why this is a distinction that matters for the health of Pasco's children. Fluoridation is not medicating, it is fortifying. Think of it like adding iodine to salt, vitamin D to milk, or folic acid to bread. These are public health measures that have been designed to prevent disease before it starts, reaching everyone quietly and safely. No one is forced to swallow a pill, and yet entire populations benefit. When iodine was added to salt, the rates of goiter dropped dramatically. And when folic acid was added to grains, we saw a major decrease in birth defects like spina bifida. When vitamin D was added to milk, rickets nearly disappeared. These are just examples of fortification. They are simple, population-wide steps that prevent illness without requiring any daily action from individuals. Fluoride works the same way. It strengthens teeth as children drink water, they brush their teeth, and even share a sip from the faucet at school or home. It does not force anyone to take a pill or undergo treatment, and it is equitable, safe, and cost-effective in preventing caries or cavities, especially for families who may struggle to access dental care. And what happens when we don't fortify? History gives us really clear answers. In areas that removed fluoride, childhood cavities increased dramatically. Hospital visits for sedation dentistry doubled, and families and taxpayers faced higher costs, often tens of thousands of dollars in preventable care even. And just like rickets, goiter, or spina bifida, the consequences fall hardest on the most vulnerable, the children, low-income families, and communities with limited access to care. Fortification is a cornerstone of public health, and it quietly works in the background, protecting everyone for every day. Fluoridation is not a drug. It is a proven standard of care, public health measure that prevents disease, protects families, and saves money. It is a mineral ion. Council members, you have the opportunity to continue this simple but powerful protection for Pasco's children. Do not remove it. Keep Pasco's waters fluoridated. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in person who'd like to speak?
Hello, my name is Cammie Malloy. I'm a proud parent of a beautiful daughter with special needs. I'm also someone who's had firsthand long-term benefits of community water with fluoridation, not just as a parent, but somebody who's lived with this protection of most of my life. Growing up, I've had access to fluorinated water. I didn't think much of it back then, but most don't. But as an adult, I now understand how critical it was. My teeth stayed strong, healthy through my childhood, teenage years, and well into my adulthood. I have fewer cavities, fewer dental visits, fewer worries. The protection was invisible but powerful. Now, as a parent of a child or with an adult with special needs, dental health has taken on an entirely new meaning for me. Dental care's not easy for kids with sensory challenges or developmental delays. She's high risk for aspiration. Brushing can be a daily battle. Trips to the dentist can be overwhelming. A lot of the times, if she needs anything more than a cleaning, she has to be in a hospital setting and put under. She has epilepsy and she's very sensitive to sedation. So that is not a benefit to us if it's all preventable. That with fluoridation comes in. It's one of the fuel tools that we have to protect our children without requiring anything extra from them. It works quietly in the background, strengthening their teeth every single day. For my child, that means fewer fillings, fewer procedures, less trauma in the dentist chair. Often anesthesia is required. So it means peace of mind for me, knowing that I am doing everything I can to protect her health, especially when so many other things are outside of my control. Fluoridation is one of the most equitable, cost-effective public health measures we have. It benefits everyone, but it's especially vital for families like me who have involved individuals, and Tessa's 35 years old. She has trisomy 18. Because families face a lot of obstacles. And when it comes to routine dental care, just knowing that we have fluoridation in the water that just gives us that much more coverage. So I've seen what it can do through my own life, my healthy smile, and now through my child's. And we all want to give back to our kids the best start in life. Community water fluoridation is a simple, science-backed way to just do it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna do my best with this name. Can we hear from Derek Campayan online?
Hello there, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi, I'm Derek Kempine and I'm from Battleground, Washington. I've got lots of friends and family in Pasco. I wanted to talk about fluoridation from the perspective of the dangers that it has to community. Fluoridation, like was mentioned, it actually is a drug. The FDA defines fluoride as a drug as any substance that's intended to diagnose, prevent, or cure a disease. And we know that the purpose of fluoride is to prevent a disease known as dental caries. And what water fluoridation does not allow is for informed consent. And the law, federal law, requires that every patient before receiving a legend drug, which fluoride is, must receive informed consent. And adding fluoride, as the other commenters mentioned, quietly, insidiously in the water, medicates every single citizen, and they have no way to opt out. Every shower, they're absorbing fluoride. Every sip of water, they're being medicated. And this would be okay if fluoride was a nutrient, but fluoride is not a nutrient. There's not a single cellular process inside of the body that uses fluoridation, uses sodium fluoride, uses fluoride in any form. As was mentioned, vitamin D is required in so many enzymatic processes. It is absolutely essential for life. Folic acid, essential for life. Fluoride, it's not essential for life. In fact, it is an environmental toxin that is regulated by the EPA as such. And it's been found that at levels of 1.5 parts per million, it reduces IQ of children. That's something that dentists and doctors will never talk about, is the fact that we are adding something to the water that with every sip reduces the IQ of children. The CDC has advocated and put out guidance that pregnant women should not drink fluoridated water, and bottle-fed infants should not be fed fluoridated water when reconstituting infant formula. Is that something that the city of Pasco can do if we continue to fluoridate the water? That's something that is very difficult to accomplish for a pregnant woman to avoid fluoride in the water. One study showed that when a pregnant mother receives fluoridated water, the IQ of the child that's born is reduced by 7 to 13 points. And when it's talked about that fluoride is cost effective, it's only cost effective if you assume it does all good and no harm, that it's not one of the most reactive elements in the periodic table, which it is. It's extremely reactive and harmful to the human body. If you consider the cost of reduced IQ, fluoride actually does not provide a net economic benefit to the community, but instead a net economic cost of $556 per person per year. It's a net economic loss for the entire community. So please discontinue fluoride. That is the most equitable solution and gives everybody the choice. Thank you.
That was 3 minutes. Thank you. Is there anyone in person who would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Andrew Bagley. My parents moved to Pasco when I was 9 months old. I grew up in Pasco and attended Pasco schools and graduated from Pasco High School. And my biology teacher is here in attendance today. I'm quite proud. I'm a general dentist at Bagley Dental in Pasco. I spent my entire dental career here in Pasco. For the past 29 years, I've examined and treated tens of thousands of patients of all ages, including many children who are on public assistance. I started seeing patients in Pasco in 1996, several years before Pasco started adding fluoride to our public water supply, to the levels recommended by the American Dental Association. I want to testify that before public water fluoridation, I saw firsthand the huge number of cavities that the children of our community had. According to the studies at the time, Pasco children had basically the highest cavity rate in the state of Washington. And what I saw in my dental practice confirmed this. I was overjoyed when the Pasco City Council unanimously voted to fluoridate the water and water supply in 1998. In the decade since Pasco started public water fluoridation, I've witnessed a substantial decrease in the number of cavities in the children who grew up drinking optimally fluoridated water. I used to see kids come in all the time with painful holes in their teeth, which had infected the nerve, as well as yellow abscesses that would swell up and pop, draining pus. Today, this is a rare occurrence. What I see now is our children, on average, have fewer cavities, and the cavities that they do have are not as deep. This means less toothaches, less school days missed, and lower dental costs. I know that this is due in part to the Pasco City Council caring enough about their residents to fluoridate the water supply. Water fluoridation is safe, effective, and low cost, and is a way to help improve oral access across the entire community. It especially helps those families who may not have easy access to dental care. Removing fluoride would reverse this progress that we've made so far, leading to more cavities, more pain, and more problems for families and the healthcare system. Dentists know fluoride. We have read the studies, the good ones and the bad ones. We know that the vast majority of credible scientific studies support the continued use of fluoride to safely prevent cavities. I challenge you to each of you to contact your local dentist, not someone next to Portland, and ask them if they think that fluoride is safe and effective. They will tell you yes. The city of Pasco adds chlorine to our water public supply to prevent disease. We should continue to add fluoride or fluorine to our public water supply to prevent disease as well. I encourage the council to look to the sound evidence that's readily available and continue to support public water fluoridation to keep the children of Pasco healthy and smiling. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we hear from Lacey Walters online?
Lacey, you'll need to unmute yourself.
All right, we will hear from Lacey when she's got her microphone worked out. In the meantime, is there anyone else in person who would like to speak?
I think the lady over there has been trying to get up for a couple times.
Sorry. Thank you. My name is Michelle Tyler, and I've lived in Pasco for 25 years. This is my son, Ian. Fluoride is not a nutrient. When used for the prevention or mitigation of disease, including tooth decay, the Food and Drug Administration categorizes it as a drug. Fluoridating water is a form of medical treatment and is the only pharmacologic agent being forced upon the public at large without informed consent. Using the public water supply to administer any drug is unethical. The same concentration of fluoride is given to the entire population with no consideration of an individual's age, weight, or health. The dose is dependent on the amount of water one drinks, and some, especially babies who are fed formula that's mixed with water, tap water, will receive a much higher dose. The fluoride used for water fluoridation is a byproduct of the aluminum smelting and phosphate fertilizer industries. It is not pharmacological or food grade, and contaminants are not removed from it. Any potential benefit to the teeth from fluoride occurs from topical exposure after the teeth have erupted from the gums. There is no benefit from swallowing fluoride, but great risk of overexposure and harm to other tissues. Fluoride is neurotoxic to the developing brain and is associated with lowered IQ in children and increased neurobehavioral disorders, including ADHD. Once ingested, fluoride accumulates in the body, especially in the bones and pineal gland. Recent studies have shown that fluoride accumulation can weaken bone and increase hip fractures in elderly women, as well as increase arthritic inflammation. While the CDC has claimed that water fluoridation is one of the top 10 public health achievements of the 20th century, it is actually one of the most widely rejected health interventions in the world. According to the World Health Organization, fluoridated countries do not have less dental decay than non-fluoridated countries. Developed nations have experienced the same decline in tooth decay over the past 50 plus years, as shown on this chart, regardless of fluoridation status. The lines in blue are non-fluoridated countries. The ones in red are fluoridated. CDC data comparing dental decay in US states also shows no correlation between fluoridation and tooth decay rates. States with highest fluoridation levels continue to show high rates of decay. The CDC has acknowledged that fluoride's benefits are from topical use, not ingestion. Fluoride-containing toothpaste and mouthwashes are cheap and abundant in virtually every grocery store, pharmacy, big box store, and online. Anyone who wishes to use it can easily obtain it. Please return individual choice about the medical treatments we receive to the citizens of Pasco. Thank you.
Lacey Walter, are you able to get your microphone connected? Okay, let's continue hearing from people here in person. The next person who would like to speak.
Why are we laughing already? I haven't even said anything. That doesn't account for my time though. So let's start over. I want to say, if you have been an orphan, please raise your hand. If you have spent any time in the dental chair for years, raise your hand. If your father owns an orphanage, raise your hand. If you are poor and was raised in privilege and have been taken away, raise your hand. On that note, my name is Amber Wade. I'm here to talk about theories or politics. I'm here to talk about what I've lived and why fluoride, Medicaid, and prevention matter more than people want to admit. I was adopted from an orphanage, and by the time I got here, most of my teeth were already rotting. I spent several hours and years in the dentist chair as a child getting silver fillings. Nearly every tooth was affected, but I was lucky. My adopted family had the money to fix what was broken. I got braces. I had access to care. Later, when I was financially stable, I even got all of the silver replaced. So I learned, but not everybody gets that chance. My father went on to run his own orphanage, and he believed so deeply in access care that he helped some of his students to go to dental school. So the kids would always have a dentist. And that taught me early that prevention isn't luxury, it is survival. I took that lesson on with me when I started working and became a CNA at the age of 18. Spent many years working at the John M. Wainwright Memorial Veteran VA Medical Center in Walla Walla. I worked in nursing homes, the hospital, the ICU unit. I took care of veterans, men and women who had served our country with honor. I brushed their teeth, I cleaned their dentures, and I listened when they told me about toothaches and infections that couldn't get treated. I saw firsthand how they had lived in pain with waiting to be seen. They were given Tylenol. That was it. And when I was working full time, I had dental insurance, I had cleanings, I had checkups, options, and my health declined. I had to cash out my 401k. I worked 2, 3, 4 jobs. Long story short, unless you have been an orphan and had all of your teeth basically fixed with silver, had braces, you don't understand the pain. Um, You will no longer be in office, most likely, when these children are in extreme pain. You will not be here when this little girl outgrows her dress. These are the children that I will not stomp about here to show who you're affecting, but they will carry the pain and legacy that your choice makes today. And I am an orphan from Guatemala who has faced that pain over and over again. And that privilege is no longer here because I'm on Social
Ms. Wade,
Security.
that is 3 minutes.
Thank you.
And for those who are joining us online, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand and we'll go through. We're alternating between in person and online. With that said, Ms. Walter, are you able to unmute your mic? The mics are disabled when you log in. And then when you raise your hand and we're ready to have you speak, we unblock them. So yours should be able to unmute now. All right, we'll continue with in-person feedback.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. This is Andrew's biology teacher. And an 80-year-old walker whose hips are working just fine, having lived all my life in various countries, and eventually here, coming to Pasco and enjoying fluoridated water. Thanks to Dr. Gillette and his absolute wonderful work that he was able to recognize what was going on in Pasco, and dedicated himself to make sure that our children would have the best dental care that we would be able to give to them. Furthermore, I've been a Pasco educator, as you've surmised, for over 30 years. While I was generally in high school, my last year I had an opportunity to watch the diet of our children, particularly in elementary school. Full disclosure, I had a short talk with Leo, and I mentioned to him, my goodness, they are eating sugar right and left. And just for that purpose alone, let's be thankful that our water is fluoridated. So, summarizing, as a parent, grandparent, and an educator to so many students, high school for most part, please understand that our students haven't lost any IQ points. In fact, they excelled and received more scholarships than you would know, because Pasco has not talked about it that much. But in the past, I could say with great pride that our kids could compete with anyone in the state. So, fluoridation has helped keep us healthy, make sure that our kids do not have to undergo all these horrible dental procedures that for some have been necessary. Thank you for considering to keep fluoridation for our Pasco citizenship. I appreciate it.
All right, Ms. Walter, try again. All right, anyone in person would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Karen Treidinger Young. I am a general dentist and owner of Lakeside Dentistry, a private practice in Yakima. I do not live in Pasco. I am also the president of the Yakima Valley Dental Society. I'm speaking to you today in support of retaining water fluoridation of the Pasco water system at the controlled and optimal level to prevent tooth decay. Community water fluoridation benefits all people, especially those who have the hardest time getting regular dental care. Studies show that water fluoridation significantly reduces tooth decay in both children and adults and is a cost-effective preventive program, even in an era of commercially available sources of fluoride, such as toothpaste and mouth rinses. According to the American Dental Association, the cost of just one dental filling exceeds the cost of a lifetime of water fluoridation for just one person. The Centers for Disease Control has listed community water fluoridation as one of the top 10 public health initiatives of the 20th century, and the Surgeon General has recognized it as a top public health initiative due to its effectiveness at preventing tooth decay. Over 70% of the US population currently benefits from water fluoridation, and an overwhelming body of over 80 years of research and clinician experience has proven the measure to be safe. The National Toxicology Program recently released a report noting an association between lower IQs in children and fluoride concentrations in water that exceed the World Health Organization's guideline of 1.5 milligrams per deciliter. The concentration of fluoride is much greater than the US standard of 0.7 milligrams per deciliter, and therefore is irrelevant to our community. The downstream consequences of removing fluoride from the public water supply will be an increase in tooth decay. This will affect children, older adults, and working families in our community at a time when there is already a shortage of dental professionals, including dentists, hygienists, and dental assistants. The need for treatment will rise at a time when there are fewer providers available to meet it. It is worth noting that tooth decay is said to be the most common chronic disease in children. And in my older patients, I am seeing decay on root surfaces more often, as they tend to be on several medications that cause dry mouth, which contributes to tooth decay. I've been in practice for over 24 years. 4 of those years, I treated mostly children in a Medicaid practice. I have been very busy and continue to see my share of decay in both the young and the old in a world where my patients' water is fluoridated. I can't imagine how busy I'll be in a world without it. Pasco has the opportunity to retain a safe, proven, cost-saving public health measure by maintaining water fluoridation. Thank you. I appreciate the chance to speak to you tonight.
Thank you. We'll continue in person for the time being.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Spencer Jalek. I live at 4509 Desert Drive here in Pasco. Back in 1999, while serving on the board of the Washington Dental Service Foundation, I saw something in my practice that broke my heart. Far too many children, some just toddlers, were suffering from painful and completely preventable dental disease. I saw parents who felt helpless, children who were scared, families carrying a burden they never should have had to carry. The foundation decided it was time to act. We commissioned a study of children's dental health across Washington, and the results hit home. Franklin County ranked among the 3 worst counties in the state for childhood decay. That was our reality. So in 1999, we came to the Pasco City Council with a proposal to add fluoride to our water supply, backed by a grant of $214,500. It wasn't just dentists who supported this. Doctors, the hospital, school nurses, and the health department all stood with us. The council listened, and they voted unanimously to bring fluoridated water to Pasco. 10 years later, when Pasco needed a new water treatment facility, the foundation stepped forward again. They provided $100,000 to make sure that fluoridation would continue in our growing community. That's how much our community believes in protecting children. Now, some will say that fluoridation should be a personal choice. But I can tell you this: untreated dental disease doesn't just affect one person. It affects schools when kids can't learn because they're in pain. It affects workplaces when parents miss shifts to take their children to the dentist. It affects taxpayers because we all pay for the cost of a preventable disease. Fluoridation, on the other hand, quietly and equitably protects every child, every family, every day. And it's working. Franklin County no longer ranks at the top for childhood decay. We're now at the state average. That's progress. It's not perfect, but it's proof that this works. This is about giving our children the best science has to offer. If fluoridation is taken away, you're not just turning back the clock. You're deciding that young families will carry a heavier burden and that taxpayers will pick up the bill for needless suffering. City councils are often faced with tough decisions, but this one is not tough. Science is clear, the need is clear, and the benefit is measurable. I urge you, as someone who has seen the faces of children in pain, please continue fluoridating Pasco's water.
And just a reminder, if anyone would prefer to speak in Spanish or Russian, or if you would like to listen in Spanish or Russian, we have translators ready to help you. Would anyone else in person like to speak?
So it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you. You just got to hear my better half, Tammy, before me. My name is Stuart Malloy. I'm a material scientist. Have a PhD in material science. I'm also a father of Tess and another. I have two girls, and I've been a material scientist for 35 years. The reason why I'm pointing that out is because one of the main things that I did in studying materials is trying to develop materials that are stronger and that are more degradation resistant in many applications. Generally, resist very difficult applications like nuclear reactors or in automobiles or in high temperature jet engines. But it's difficult. It costs a lot of money to develop new alloys. It costs a lot of money to develop coatings for materials. Here's a method that we can use that is simple. You add it to the water, and now you've actually made your teeth stronger, made them more degradation resistant. I can't be more favorable for something like that, except for that it might knock me out of my job if I could find a way to do that on jet engines. So I've had the pleasure of fluoridation in my water for 58 years. The dentist is actually here to point out that my teeth are probably pretty good and my IQ is doing okay. So I would really like to push for continuing to keep fluoride in the water. And also, I think I have the time to do this. I also wanted to talk for Tess. And Cammie said a little bit about Tess. Tess, I'm here. I'm here talking on behalf of Tess. She cannot use words to speak for herself. Her life does tell a powerful story. She's 35 years old. She has special needs. She's nonverbal. She is talking here right now, but she smiles every single day. She laughs, she loves, and she lives a life full of joy. That life has been made a little easier thanks to something that many of us never even think about, fluoride in the water. She's never had the words to advocate for herself, but I'm honored to speak for her today, to say thank you here, but she's also had this in Albuquerque. We've actually been here for 3 years, but in Albuquerque, she also had it for her whole life. Thank you for a lifetime of protection of fluoride that has given her. Her teeth are strong. Her smile is healthy. Can I get a little more time? She's had fewer cavities than expected, even though brushing and flossing are hard for her. Like so many others with disabilities, she relies on others for daily care. Usually I or my wife are brushing her teeth. And I'll admit, sometimes I forget. Uh, but it's easy to forget that not everyone has the same abilities. Not everyone can brush their teeth twice a day or go to the dentist regularly or follow complicated health routines. Fluoridated water reaches everybody.
Mr. Malloy, that is 3 minutes. If you can wrap up your thoughts.
Okay. And it reaches people like her. So today I speak with her smile, I speak with her experience, and I speak with the gratitude of someone whose health has quietly been protected by a decision made before she was even born, a decision to put fluoride in the water. So please consider keeping fluoride in the water. Thank you.
We will hear from Kevin Hudson online. And while we're getting his microphone set up, I just want to remind you all, if you have additional things that you'd like to say, this QR code on the screen right now will send you to the online comment form, which you can stay anonymous if you'd like to. You don't have to. But that is another great way to make sure that your comments are added to the record. Mr. Hudson, when you're ready.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name's Dr. Kevin Hudson. I am a board-certified oral and maxillofacial surgeon. I'm also a diplomate of the American Board of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery, a fellow of the American College of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons, and a fellow of the American Association of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons, and a recently inductee of the American College of Dentists. As an oral surgeon, as a dental educator, I've spent my career focused on prevention because the most effective dental care that we have is the kind that stops disease before it starts. And when it comes to prevention, community water fluoridation is probably one of the most powerful tools we have in our arsenal. In dental education today, prevention is at the heart of what we teach, actually. I'm a professor at Pacific Northwest University of Health Sciences. I teach both dental students and also medical students. We emphasize that that the most effective dentistry is the kind that prevents disease before it ever starts. And so water fluoridation is taught as a cornerstone of that prevention. It isn't controversial, it's foundational. In all dental schools across this nation, adequate fluoridation is taught as the standard of care, backed by decades of research and endorsed by every major dental and medical organization in the country. So when I'm teaching students, I'm training them to practice in community where water fluoridation is in place, because that's what the national curriculum expects, and that's what patients deserve. Why? So basically, fluorinated water reaches everyone, seniors, children, families with limited access to care, and it's a baseline protection that really supports all of our preventative efforts. Toothpaste helps, yeah, but it can't replace the consistent, low-level exposure that fluoridated water provides. It's truly a safety net that keeps entire communities healthier. From a policy perspective, the numbers speak for themselves. Water fluoridation.
I'm sorry, I pushed the wrong button. Laura, can we reset his clock to 1:20? And Mr. Hudson, I'm sorry, if you could unmute yourself again.
Am I live?
You are back, and that I apologize.
Okay, where did I get cut off at?
We had about 1:20 left on the clock.
Okay, so I don't know if you caught that about the smart economics of water fluoridation, but the alternative is that in my surgical practice, I see it every day. Children and adults with severe decay requiring treatment under general anesthesia, families facing tens of thousands of dollars in dental bills for procedures like full mouth extractions. Both I and my colleagues have witnessed children die from septic shock or airway closure from dental infection. That happens in the United States. It happens every day. The emotional toll is immeasurable. That outcome was 100% preventable. This is why water fluoridation is more than a public health measure. It's a moral imperative. It's a commitment to protecting the most vulnerable among us, to reduce health disparities, and to ensure that every child has a fair chance at a healthy future. To remove fluoridation is to knowingly increase suffering, increase risk, especially among those least able to afford care. As policymakers, you have the power and the responsibility to prevent that. Now, I've heard a lot of things talked about how fluoride is absorbed through the skin. That is categorically not true in the fluoride ions that are used for water fluoridation. And in all of the studies in which there was a diminished cognitive level, it was in areas that far exceeded the parts per million dosing. Some of those that found in those studies were 11.5 milligrams per deciliter. We're looking at 0.7. So a lot of the things that have been mentioned come from no scientific basis. It's just pulled off of a website that makes absolutely no sense. I urge you to see fluoridation not as a line item, but as a commitment to prevention, equity, and fiscal responsibility. It's one of the smartest investments you can make in the health of your constituents and your community. And if you'd like to reach out to me anytime, I would love to go over the research with you in depth and explain how water fluoridation helps teeth that are developing become stronger so that when children are at their most vulnerable, they are protected. Thank you.
Would anyone in person like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Erica Chambers. I'm a dentist at the Columbia Basin Pediatric Dental Clinic, and I see patients from all over Washington, in addition to patients from Pasco. My story is what I want to talk about tonight is just a story and share that from patient that we've seen similar to Tess' story. It's a story of a 16-year-old autistic boy. He's minimally verbal. He's not able to complain when something hurts. He just can't say, my tooth aches, every time I chew. What it looks like to others is that he's having a meltdown. And so, yeah, he's just silently fighting that pain. His mother is a single parent. She works full time during dental hours, but then work like during offices when they're open. Those hours are when she's at work. If she misses a shift, that means missing rent or groceries. She already maxes out her leave, the sick leave to go to therapy appointments for her patient or for her son. And so they are waiting. They aren't able to see like a dentist regularly because dental offices are too loud, they're too bright, they're too overwhelming. And so many families similar to this are just living in poverty and raising children with disabilities, and teeth just aren't a priority, or just they can't get to it until that pain can't be ignored. So one day he's in the school's nurse's office, and he's clutching his jaw, and he has this ball of pus that ruptures and is oozing into his mouth, and that pain is shooting into his ear and down his neck, and he can't explain that to the what's going on. He's just able to cry and grunt, right back and forth. His mother takes him to the ER, but at ER, it doesn't really fix teeth. They just kind of treat the pain. They give him some antibiotics, pain medicine, and then she's finally able to see a dentist. But at that point, that infection has, gone too far. He's not able to do x-rays and of course, keeps his jaw shut because he's terrified and in pain. And so we as dentists know that this is just a patient that's probably most likely just going to have to be sedated to have a proper oral exam and have that treatment completed. And so he's too old for the surgery centers that are usually here in town. And so that usually means that we have to send them to Spokane or Seattle, which also has long wait times. And so during this case, he's going to have just more antibiotics while they're waiting, more pain, and then body constantly breaking down and trying to fight that infection. But of course, sometimes an infection is winning over. And so when it gets to this point, parents are desperate. His mother's desperate. She doesn't really have a car, so she's like taking the bus to work. She finally creates a GoFundMe to try to get some assistance to get the funding that she needs to go to Seattle and Spokane to have this treatment completed. And so I'm running out of time here, so I'll cut it short, but that's just the cycle that continues with a lot of patients we see. And so fluoridated water really helps cut down on that decay and try to prevent stories and similar circumstances for families. Thank you.
All right, online we have Stephen Krager. You should be able to unmute your mic now.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. My name is Dr. Steve Krager, and I am the health officer for Benton and Franklin counties, and I support community water fluoridation. Decisions about our drinking water are by definition public health decisions. Government intervention in water quality happens in a couple different directions. Sometimes we remove harmful things like pathogens and lead, and sometimes we include protective things, adjustments like pH control to prevent corrosion and fluoride to prevent tooth decay. Fluoridation is one of those common routine water quality measures. And these types of supplementations occur in other things too, like our food supply. We supplement various foods with iron, with calcium, with iodine and zinc, and these all prevent diseases. I understand the argument about freedom of choice, and I think Residents retain the freedom of choice through using filters or bottled water or other ways to reduce fluoridation. Ending fluoridation, by contrast, removes this low-cost benefit from everyone, especially kids and seniors who bear the highest burden of dental disease. You may hear citations about studies claiming harm. This can happen when people cherry pick studies. And in public health and in government decision making, our responsibility is to weigh the totality of evidence, of high quality evidence. So we look at systematic reviews, we look at decades of data and monitoring of this dose that we have found that is optimal. We look at expert guidance from international bodies, from the CDC, from the American Dental Association, from the American Academy of Pediatrics. And that body of evidence shows that fluoridation reduces cavities community-wide and saves money in dental care. I want to acknowledge that no one can be an expert on everything. Each of you on the city council has various types of expertise on all types of different topics. I don't know how to run a small business. I don't know the details of transportation regulations or land development. And I don't expect you to deeply understand all the research around fluoride. But as you've heard from some of our local experts, you have local experts with deep knowledge on this matter, who've seen the impacts firsthand and have done the research. So you have a unique role, and it's stewardship for your community. Maintaining fluoridation keeps a proven safe prevention in place while preserving individual choice, which is exactly the kind of balanced, limited intervention local government is meant to provide. Thank you.
Does anyone in person like to speak?
You can push the button.
Okay. My name is Lindsay Palmer, and I am a registered dental hygienist who serves Pasco families as both a clinical provider and as the Access to Baby and Child Dentistry coordinator at the Benton Franklin Health District with Dr. Greger. In that role, my focus is on helping children, emphasizing the youngest children, those with disabilities, get the dental care they deserve. And I want you to understand why I'm here tonight. In dentistry, prevention is of the utmost importance. As dental hygienists, we're often called the prevention specialists. We spend our days teaching people how to avoid pain and expensive treatment, brush twice a day for 2 minutes, floss every day, eat well, drink water. But I'll be honest with you, education is not enough. That's where community water fluoridation comes in. It is one of the most trusted, standard of care, cost-effective ways to prevent cavities for all children. As the Access to Baby and Child Dentistry coordinator, I see every day how difficult it is for families in Pasco to access care. They face longer wait times, fewer providers, and so many barriers. Water fluoridation helps level that playing field. It gives every child in Pasco the same baseline protection, even if they can't get in to see a dentist right away. And this isn't just about avoiding cavities. Oral health is deeply tied to our overall health, linked to pregnancy risks like preterm birth, low birth weight, and stillbirth. Yes, oral infections can cause a baby to die. A woman can lose her baby because of these dental infections. They can cause a heart attack or a stroke. They can interfere with diabetes and even more. For children, untreated decay can mean missed school, chronic pain, or even hospitalization, and in some tragic cases, death. Without fluoridation, cavities rise, sedation cases rise, costs rise, and these costs fall on families and the taxpayers. Calgary learned this the hard way. After removing fluoride, the number of children needing sedation dentistry doubled. And when they realized their mistake and they reinstated it, the city spent $28 million to put it back in. Pasco does not have money to do that when they realize their mistake. They can't afford it financially, and we can't afford it morally. We hear a lot about freedom of choice when it comes to removing fluoride, but I believe children also deserve the freedom to live healthy lives. A child doesn't get to choose whether their parents can afford dental care or whether their neighborhood dentist takes their insurance. They don't get to choose if their mom and dad can take off time from work to bring them to an appointment. But through community water fluoridation, we can give every child the freedom to grow up with less pain, fewer cavities, and a healthier start in life. Isn't that the kind of freedom we want for Pasco's children? Let me be very clear. We are not here tonight because fluoride benefits our paychecks. If anything, the opposite is true. Dentists would have a lot more work to do when you remove it. We are here because we believe Pasco's children deserve better, and optimal fluoride levels are safe. It's effective. It's the standard of care. Most importantly, it gives every child, no matter their family's income background or ability, the freedom to grow up healthier. Please don't take that away. Thanks.
I don't see any hands raised online, so if you are online and would like to speak, please raise your hand virtually, but for the moment, we'll continue with people who would like to speak in person.
But it is okay. Hi, my name is Heather Hill, and I'm a public health nurse and deputy to the health officer at Benton Franklin Health District. But more important, I'm a longtime resident of the city of Pasco and have raised 2 children here who happen to have really good teeth and pretty good IQs, let me tell you. I was very thankful that Pasco City Council agreed to do the right thing for children in 1999 and put fluoride in the water, which I sincerely hope you continue. However, my story with fluoride started over 6 decades ago in a small remote town with a population of less than 1,000. The water from that municipality had natural fluoridation. My family was very poor. The closest dental care was 50 miles away, but we couldn't have afforded it anyways. We also did not have our own toothbrushes or toothpaste. They were a luxury. My sister, who is now 80, still laughs about getting her first very own toothbrush in 3rd grade. Not uncommon for what we experience with little kids in our community. Over the years, we did move away from that town and life improved significantly for us. By the time I was in elementary school, I had my own toothbrush, yearly dental visits, and according to our dentist, we had amazing teeth. Me and my 3 siblings to this day reap the benefits of fluoridation we had as children. Every time we visited the dentist and comments were made about how great our teeth were, Mom always proudly said, "It's that natural fluoridation we had when you kids were little." This is true today when I visit my dentist. I've been a public health nurse in this community for over 42 years. I'm passionate about my community and especially the kids. I know many of them grow up in similar households to the one I did. I want them to have the same gift I did of strong, healthy, decay-free teeth. We may not have had the money necessary for good dental care, but we had the protection of fluoride. As a public health nurse, I've had the opportunity to meet with many school nurses as they express concerns about the challenges their kids at school face. They have many health needs, and dental care is a very significant one. The pain from dental decay interrupts learning. It interrupts your ability to eat. It can also be embarrassing for these kids. My daughter, who graduated from Pasco High, is an anesthesia provider at both Cadillac and in Everett. We've had many dinnertime conversations about how difficult it is on kids who have to undergo anesthesia. Unfortunately, many kids are in such bad condition, this is the only way they can be treated. They are coming to the OR suite multiple times to take care of all the needs in their mouth. This is not only expensive, but it's extremely invasive. There's an entire team of healthcare professionals needed to care for these kids having surgery. But more important is the impact on both the child and the parents. It's extremely scary and traumatizing. An operating room is not a kid-friendly space with all the machines and staff swirling around. Also, it isn't just the care in the hospital, but the aftercare needed. Fluoridated water improves the dental health of generations. Me, my siblings, and my kids are evidence of this. Fluoride invests in our kids not only now, but for their future dental health. Please do the right thing and continue fluoridating the water.
Would anyone else like to speak in person?
Good evening. My name is Dr. Sarah Thomas, and I am here to highlight the serious oral health challenges faced by residents with disabilities and how removing fluoride from Pasco's water would make things worse. I'm also on staff with Tri-City Community Health, so that's where this comes from. People with intellectual and developmental disabilities experience a much higher rate of untreated tooth decay compared to the general population. The CDC has documented these disparities, showing that oral health inequities for people with disabilities are a significant public health concern. I consider it an honor on their behalf to fight this battle. Here in Franklin County, access to dental care for this population is extremely limited. I am the only dentist in the area with hospital privileges to provide specialized dental care for adult patients with intellectual and developmental disabilities who require general anesthesia for comprehensive care. I'm currently able to see only 2 to 3 patients a month due to hospital scheduling limitations. My wait list is well over 100 patients long and growing weekly. This backlog is not because of the lack of need, but because of the limited hospital access. Many people with disabilities can't tolerate routine dental care procedures, and the standard clinic setting is not, they just can't tolerate it. They rely on the hospital-based care. Unfortunately, when dental problems go untreated, they contribute also to a systemic health issue. The leading cause of death among adults with disabilities are heart disease and respiratory infections, both conditions worsened by untreated oral infections. If fluoride is removed from Pasco's water, we will be stripping away one of the very few preventative accessible tools to this very vulnerable group. So I ask council members, how do you plan to expand access to dental care for residents with disabilities who will lose this protection? Without fluoridation, untreated oral disease will rise, pushing patients into emergency system and driving up healthcare costs. Fluoride in the water is one of very few preventative measures available that doesn't require appointments, travel, or special accommodations. Removing this protection would disproportionately harm people with disabilities, increasing their risk of dental disease and related health complications. Please consider the impact on our most vulnerable residents as you deliberate. Maintaining community water fluoridation is a simple, effective way to help protect those who face the greatest barrier to care. Thank you for your time.
All right, we'll continue with people in person.
Hello, my name is Daniel Frederickson. I've been both a resident and worker here in Pasco now for 7 years and proud to be a part of the city. I really like it here and plan to stay. So I'm here because initially I, like many people, heard about this online and got a little heated maybe. But I think it's important for everybody to come and be able to share their thoughts and opinions on something important like fluoridation. I think the big thing here is I want to let everyone know that yes, I'm for it, but some of the other aspects of how the process has been handled, I think, are worth bringing up. I know that Pasco right now is running a really tight budget. There's a lot of cuts that have to be made. Some people have talked about fluoride as a way to reduce costs, but I wanted to mention some other costs that really, compared to fluoride, make it a bad argument. Right now, the city is requesting 2.17 million, or working on budgeting that for a new stoplight at Road 60 and Burden. Something important needs to be done. There's 241,000 that was spent on boulevard maintenance in 2023 to 2024. Something that's important too, but the cost per year, as stated by the city manager on the meeting on the 16th, I believe it's the city manager, June 16th, was 50,000 per year. So cutting 50,000 per year is not really that much comparatively to some of the other cities' budget costs. The benefits are way higher and some of the savings to community members that are lower income may not have access to dental care. And I think that's something that's important to consider. It also costs a lot of money to notify everybody in the city that fluoridation is ending. The estimate was 18,000. That's a lot of money to spend out, especially if in 10 years the city decides again to add fluoride back if it's taken away and we see a negative outcome. One of the other things that I think that is worth mentioning is that social media is great, for gathering public opinion, but it's not always representative. Just like if you go and knock on doors, you're not always going to get every person. A lot of people don't answer doors. It's usually like 1 in 10 when I've been door knocking for different things over the years. So I think it's important that the city council considers expert opinion as well as public feedback. I'm really thankful that we're getting the opportunity here to be heard because I think it's important. Everyone has feedback. You know, if fluoride's removed, as long as it's representative of the will of the people, I think then it's a sound decision. But vibes-based policymaking is not good government. Thank you.
Hey there, my name is Bart Roach. I'm a practicing dentist in Kennewick. I grew up in Pasco. My children are educated in Pasco. And I have a whole prepared something on leadership, but I think it's important, if maybe only Leo saw our testimony from the previous time, that you hear from me what I said the last time. And that had to do with the fact that in 2016, we already did this. And it was resoundingly clear that your constituency supported community water fluoridation. What I remember is that Latino men were the ones that scored the highest in their support for it, which makes sense because they pay the bills for their kids' dental care. And it was like 89% support. So what's happened since then? There was an article that came out in the pediatric JAMA. I said to my brother, David, what's the deal with this article? I need you to tell me why it's wrong. He said, dude, it's a good article. David didn't have time to get into the papers that were written or in this meta-analysis that's caused us so many problems, because even the head of our hygiene school doesn't have the scientific foundation to figure out why the data is non-applicable to our situation from which that study was written, okay? So David didn't have time to figure out, but luckily there are people that work for the ADA that have gone through and figured out, well, that was 11.5 times the amount of fluoride. We know fluoride's bad at high levels. We know it's very effective at low levels. It makes the developing teeth much stronger. So it's like massively more impactful for little kids. I've had to become an expert on this because I get asked, because I'm a leader, like sticking my neck out. And people in the community have come to me because they saw me quoted the last time I was here. And so I've inadvertently had to become an expert on this issue for something that we took for granted, as Dr. Hudson said, because it's industry standard understanding and knowledge about the effectiveness of fluoride, the safety of it. But recently it's now in the news again. And when this was introduced in '99, the fear was osteosarcoma, okay, that caused bone cancer. There have since been good studies that have been put to rest the IQ thing. So I invite you to reach out to me. I'll cancel the patient I'm talking to if you call my office. And you can ask me any question you want about that. That's your hang up. And if I can't answer it effectively, I'll call Dr. Hudson and I'll get a hold of him because he'll be able to tell me. He's got so many letters behind his name. That's a lot of work represented, which is why he said that. So anyway, please be good leaders. Your constituency has spoken in 2016. We don't need a vote on this. That's expensive. It takes time. It only lets a lot of uninformed people, because you guys are informed about this now, make a decision that they don't know anything about. Thanks.
Would anyone else like to speak?
Good evening, council people. I actually did not prepare to speak tonight, but I was invited by my mother-in-law, who works for the health district. I'm a longtime resident of Pasco. I was actually born here right up the road. I was raised here in the community in poverty. I didn't have people looking out for my health and well-being many years growing up. I don't know if you know what that's like, but it really makes you feel like there's no safety net. There's nobody that's going to catch you when you fall. I didn't go to a dentist for 15 years, and I actually went when I was about 20 years old when I finally got on state insurance. And I actually saw Dr. Bagley. And he was actually astounded that I only had 6 cavities and they weren't that bad because I had horrible dental hygiene. Nobody cared about making sure that I knew how to brush my teeth. So I really didn't for many years. And I do think that due to the fluoridation in the water, my mouth has been saved. My grandma who raised me, she always did scare tactics of, oh, do you want dentures like me? She had dentures put in her late 20s because she didn't brush her teeth. But she didn't have fluoridation in her water. So I think what really saved me was having that backup of the city looking out for me, even if there wasn't, you know, an adult in my household that did. I also care for a vulnerable adult in our community, my aunt. She's mentally disabled. She has very poor oral hygiene. And I think that's really the only thing keeping her from having to get dentures as well. I really would like you guys to consider keeping it. I don't think this should be really an issue brought up. But unfortunately, with a lot of things going around on the internet, I think that's a big reason that it has. Thank you for your time.
Could we get your name for the record, please?
My name's Kim Poma.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in person?
Good evening. My name is Chris Doro, and I'm from Othello. And why I'm here is I am the current president of the Washington State Dental Association, and I was asked to present the position of my association on water fluoridation. The vision of the Washington State Dental Association is through our members and partners, we achieve healthy communities for all. For almost a century, nothing has accomplished this vision for the prevention of decay more than fluoridated water. At the perfectly managed level, the city of Pasco has been able to deliver to your entire community across all socioeconomic levels and barriers. You have decreased decay by 35%. Community water fluoridation is considered one of the top 10 public health achievements of the 20th century, with over 80 years of global research and data over vast populations. There is no better or safer way to reduce tooth decay across your entire community. From the benefits of public health, it works the same way that iodine was added to salt. Or, if you'd prefer, vitamin D was added to milk for their respective public health concerns. I would like to end with there's pretty important data from cities like Calgary, Alberta, and Juneau, Alaska, showing a significant rise in tooth decay after community fluoridation was removed. On behalf of the over 4,000 dentists who I represent, I urge you to consider continuing to protect your community with this important public health service. Also, as a civil servant, since I have a few minutes or a little bit of time, I'm completely jealous of this podium, and I hope Othello someday makes that investment in the future. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Would anyone else like to come check out the podium?
Good evening. My name is Gina Dorrell, and I live at 850 East Hemlock in Othello, Washington. You may be wondering why someone from Othello is here to speak about Pasco's fluoridation. There are 2 reasons. First, my husband, who loves your podium, is the president of the Washington State Dental Association. And through him, I've had more than 35 years of exposure to the science and value of fluoridation as a critical preventative dental tool. Second, and more directly relevant, I hold the highest level water and wastewater licenses in Washington state. For 10 years, I was responsible for monitoring and managing Othello's naturally occurring fluoride levels, which required me to become very familiar with both the science and the impacts. In addition, I have served as Othello City Council member for 15 years, including 6 terms as the mayor pro tempore. As a long-serving council member, I don't envy your position. Politically charged issues like this often generate more emotion than fact. In my experience, the best way to approach them is a cost-benefit decision. Like Othello, Pasco has a significant number of vulnerable residents who benefit greatly from your current fluoridation practice. Ending that practice would create negative outcomes, higher public health costs, but more importantly, preventable pain and suffering for your citizens. In my view, it would take a very compelling evidence to justify the risk. Since I was already here with my husband, I wanted to offer my perspective as someone who also serves in local government. And finally, on a lighter note, my husband also chairs our city planning commission, which is why he's envious of your podium. You can probably imagine how riveting our dinner table conversations are. City government, wastewater, water, growth management, and dental policy. The joys of life in public service. Thank you very much for your time and your consideration.
Hi, it'll be hard to follow experts like the Doros, but I'll try my best. My name is Mariah, and I am a policy analyst at the Arcora Foundation, previously the Washington Dental Service Foundation. Arcora is a nonprofit dedicated to improving oral health in Washington state. I do not live in Pasco, but Arcora works in your community to bring our mobile dental van, fund community-based organizations and food banks, and as Dr. Gillette mentioned, we were able to provide the initial funding for the city to purchase the equipment to fluoridate 20 years ago. I've had the honor of getting to know your local providers and community members over the past few months. Pasco is very lucky to have such compassionate, smart providers who care deeply about their community. In alignment with all of your local physicians and dentists, I urge the council to maintain your community water fluoridation program. Many people have already talked about the barriers families face in accessing dental care. In our state, Hispanic and Indigenous children have a 50% higher decay rate than white children. Disparities exist across income levels as well, with third-grade children from low-income households suffering from rampant decay at twice the rate of children from higher-income households. 63% of the children in Pasco are on Medicaid. Of these children with Medicaid coverage, only about half are seeing a dentist per year. This makes preventing cavities particularly important. Water fluoridation provides critical prevention for children and adults. Studies show that water fluoridation prevents at least 25% of tooth decay in children throughout their lifespan. Council members, tonight you've been able to hear and learn from the providers in your community that came out tonight to support fluoridation. The consensus is clear. The people you trust to take care of your families and your communities have reviewed the science and decided to be here tonight to support this cause. If you remove fluoride, these will be the people here to help the children who are harmed most. Please continue fluoridation and continue protecting the children in your community. Thank you.
All right. Again, if you're online and you have not spoken yet, but you would like to, please raise your hand so we can allow your microphone access. Otherwise, is there anyone else in person who would like to speak?
Good evening. I'm Brian Verhey, and I'm a Pasco resident. I would start by making it absolutely clear I am here in my personal capacity as an individual. We have heard from 23 people so far tonight. Of those people, 21 have advocated for continuing fluoridation in our water. Let's face it, I sell houses for a living. I don't know much about fluoride. So when this issue came up, I had to go figure out what was going on. I went online and I found all sorts of studies talking about IQ loss and all these medical issues. But you know what? Google lies to all of us. Social media divides us. So I went ahead and continued my research and I talked to medical professionals. Every medical professional that spoke to me about fluoride in water has said that it has proven positive impact on reducing decay for children, and the people that it benefits the most are people who are disadvantaged, people who do not have the economic means to seek that regular dental care. I know very well through my professional work that there are a lot of people in our community that cannot afford to see a dentist. Heck, I've been one of them many times. So, keeping it as brief as I possibly can, we need to make sure that we do the right thing for our city, the right thing for our citizens, and keep fluoride in our water. After all, 21 of the 23 people that spoke today said they wanted it, and every single medical professional that spoke today has advocated for it. Thank you guys for your time.
Would anyone else like to speak?
I don't have to push any button here. Okay, so my name is Michelle Dury. I live in Pasco and I've been a registered nurse for over 30 years here in Pasco. Jill and Scott Riley from Stand for Health Freedom reached out to me after I posted support of ending water fluoridation in Pasco. They were on the front lines of getting the statewide ban of fluoridation in Florida, statewide. He emailed links to articles which I have brought for public review. And I also have the medical safety data sheet on the hydrofluorosilicic acid. I'd like to have them all reviewed, taken into account. It's all here. This is how they got it out of the whole state. Unfortunately, when I reviewed all of the sources of fluoride information linked to the City of Pasco government website, I found 15 plus articles that all confirm that fluoride is safe and effective. Gee, where have I heard that term before? I copied most of them for public review, and I'd be happy to meet with anyone after this or anytime online, whatever. This appears to be a classic ploy of propagandists. Accuse your opponent of doing exactly what you are doing, or simply take your opponent's arguments and turn them upside down. I oppose water fluoridation after reviewing extensive facts. And on September 24th, when in a California court, September 24th of 2024, when in a California court, a number of advocacy groups won against the EPA for the first time in history. In the court ruled that fluoride poses an unreasonable risk of reduced IQ in children, and it ordered the EPA to eliminate and take action against it or decrease it. The FDA does accept that fluoride is a drug. It's not a nutrient. It's non-essential. Therefore, fluoridating is a form of mass medicating, and city officials are not doctors. There's no informed consent. It is unethical to deliver medical treatment via water sources. I have this because government officials and dental leaders have put so much of their credibility on the line defending fluoridation, and because of the huge liabilities waiting in the wings if they admit that fluoridation has caused an increase in hip fracture, arthritis, bone cancer, brain disorders, or thyroid problems, it will be very difficult for them to speak honestly and openly about the issue. But they must, not only to protect millions of people from unnecessary harm, but to protect the notion that at its core, public health policy must be based on sound science, not political expediency. The precautionary principle, simply put, says, if in doubt, leave it out. First, no harm is violated. Fluoride is harmful. Natural occurring deception discredits pro-fluoride advocates. Industrial waste fluorosilicic acid contains contaminants such as arsenic and lead. It is not pharma grade. Under oath testimony with threat of perjury, testimony revealed the truth at that court case in August of 2024. The CDC, under oath, admits neurotoxicity related to fluoride. They CDC under oath says pregnant women should avoid fluoridated water. It has no in utero benefit. It has no benefit to babies in their first 6 months of age. It has no clue of an upper safe limit. They're guessing 0.7 parts per million. The CDC acknowledges that dental fluorosis permanently disfigures teeth and impacts 14 million Americans. The EPA under oath state fluoride has the ability to interfere with brain function. 95% of the world does not fluorinate their water, and
Ms.
there
Berry?
is no chronic dental decay.
Ms. Berry, that is 3 minutes. Can you please wrap up your thoughts?
You bet. Can I leave these somewhere for somebody? Okay.
Thank you. Let's go online. Rebecca Francic, would you like to speak? Your microphone has permission. Are you able to unmute? Well, is there anyone here in person who would like to speak? All right, well, we could have Lacey Walter or Rebecca Francic unmute. We can hear from either of you. All right. Second call for anybody in person to speak before we wrap up for the evening.
And 3 minutes from the microphone. My name is Craig Johnson. I've been a resident of Pasco since 1992. Grew up in Kennewick. Kennewick did not have fluoridated water. I had any number of dental caries growing up. My son basically grew up here from the time he was about a year old. He basically has had one or none. He has enjoyed fluoridated water in this town. We are a community with very, very many people who don't have adequate access to dental care and or can't afford it. Making sure that fluoridation continues is a benefit to a huge percentage of our community. I urge you to continue to fluoridate water in the city of Pasco. The facilities have already been paid for through a grant of a very generous donor, and it's just a matter of the chemicals added to the water. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna give people a couple of minutes. If they can call my phone, we'll put it on the microphone and hear from people that way. And that number is in the chat for the meeting. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. My name is Ian Tyler. I've lived in Pasco all my life. I have no idea if people under the age of 18 are allowed to speak, but I'm just guessing they are. But the League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, is the oldest Hispanic civil rights organization in the United States in 2011. LULAC passed a resolution opposing fluoridation, which states that one current science shows that fluoridation chemicals pose increased risk to sensitive subpopulations, including infants, elderly, diabetics, kidney patients, and people with poor nutrition. Two, minority communities are more highly impacted by fluorides as they historically experience more diabetes and kidney disease. Three, minorities are disproportionately harmed by fluorides as documented by increased rates of dental fluorosis. It has become obvious that the addition of cheap industrial chemicals to the water supply has never been and will never be an effective form of dental care. If we really care about our oral health of our children, we should instead advocate for better oral hygiene and nutrition and education, free toothbrush and toothpaste programs, reduce sugar intake, and affordable dental care for economical disadvantaged communities. Thank you. But I would like to state one thing, and just to be clear, I am against fluoride. Thank you.
I have Lacey Walter here on the phone, so I'm going to put her on speaker and allow her to give her thoughts. Lacey, you can go ahead.
Hi, I live in Pasco with my husband. We both work here in Pasco. Our daughter goes to middle school here. We are opposed to water fluoridation. I do believe that it violates the principles of informed consent to dose the public with fluoride. It's never meant to be ingested. It's supposed to be only topical use. And so it's hard to navigate the amount of fluoride people are consuming. I remember years ago, somebody had done the math of how much fluoride an infant might be exposed to. Fluoride in the water that they use with their formula. They prescribe fluoride tablets to children to ingest. Food that's produced in places that have fluorinated water also contains fluoride that was in that water. It's difficult to assess the dosage for small children and everyone really. So when you have too much fluoride, fluoride toxicity is detrimental. It can lead to cell death, mitochondrial dysfunction, DNA damage, and various organ-specific anomalies, and cognitive dysfunction. Ultimately, the science isn't settled here, and because of that, I think we should err on the side of eliminating it for the time being until we can have more understanding. We are suffering from chronic health crisis, and I do believe there's a synergistic toxicity. Fluoride is a neurotoxin, and when combined with other elements that are in our bodies, I believe it wreaks havoc. The aluminum in vaccines, glyphosate in food. I think we really, really need to pause, take a step back, and start really. Just because it's always been done doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. I'm not sure if it's 3 minutes or what, but
I've got about 40 seconds left.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I do believe it very much violates the informed consent principles. And I think we should err on the safe side. I mean, and all these anecdotal stories I've been listening to all evening. I grew up with well water. My parents opted out of every fluoride treatment. I never used fluorinated toothpaste. My teeth are fine. So, I mean, if you look at the side of the fluoride toothpaste, it says contact poison control if ingested, because it's not supposed to be ingested. And I think if we could just continue on with topical use as it was intended and stop with having people ingest it into their bodies. Also, Dr. Russell Blaylock has proven that it accumulates over time, so it doesn't flush out of our system, which keeps accumulating. And I think that science isn't settled, and we need to err on the side of caution.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Walter. That is your time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for your patience this evening.
No worries, thank you.
All right. I also have Ms. Francic on the phone.
Yes.
Here we go.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Francic, and I am a Pasco constituent asking this council to keep fluoride in the water. The science is very clear. There is no ambiguity. When you look at the Mayo Clinic, the Pediatric Association, the Medical Association, the Dental Association, all medical professionals who work with people and children, we know that fluoride saves children and adults from having expensive dental procedures and serious caries. When safely administered, as it is, because it's monitored by our city, we have better health outcomes for our children and for myself as an adult. The science is extremely clear. There is no ambiguity. Please keep fluoride in our water.
All right. That is the end of the call. Was there anyone else in person who would like to speak? All right. With your permission, I think that will do it for us for this evening. Thank you all again for being part of this discussion and for giving in your feedback. And if you have anything more to add, we will have the online comment form, which you can see right here. We will have that available through the end of the day on September 28th. That is Sunday coming up. So thank you again.
Thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks to the council members.
Thanks, Alyssa. I'm going to go ahead and end the online portion.